Welcome to Sitting with Shadows. I'm Sylvia. I thought I would talk today about shadows and shadow work. It was not a term that I was familiar with when I started this journey, even though I took a lot of psychology classes in high school and college. And I'm sure I learned of it, but it didn't stick. So it so the process for me has been a just do what feels right, follow my instinct. Um, I knew that the key, somehow I knew instinctively, I guess, that the key was to finally feel those feelings that I hadn't before. Um, so before I go too far ahead, let me just explain what shadow work is. It is identifying those hidden memories, those traumas, the beliefs and emotions that we push down, and whether that was because of a personal trauma, personal experiences, or if it was as a result of like shame and peer pressure, societal pressure not to feel and be who you authentically are. So the shadow is the are the I don't know the official one, but it's the feelings that are in there that you may think of once in a while, and it may hurt, but you push it away. And I found that when we push it away, it doesn't go away. I think all of us might be aware of that, but it does not go away. What it does is it gives it to the most vulnerable part of you, as I say that. Your inner child takes it, carries it, hides it away from you so that you don't have to deal with it. But imagine what that does to your inner child. They're just trying to live their life, figure everything out, and then suddenly they're like, wham! Okay, well, I'll take this little trauma here, and so that the big person doesn't have to deal with it. The little ones, the young ones have to. So the shadow will manifest itself as anger or jealousy or all of those negative emotions, and so it also hinders you from being your authentic self, and that means you develop fears, and you develop not really phobias, but fears of putting yourself out there, fears of being seen, fears of just living your life authentically. And so you don't. And so the positive aspects of your potential may not come about because you're scared. That happened to me, very much so. I lived in fear. I lived in uncertainty, a lot of my own making, just because I was such a people pleaser. I didn't know who I was or what I wanted. So what you need to do with those emotions is you pull them up, and you don't do happy-go-lucky toxic positivity. You sit with it. You finally feel it. You finally look at it from a variety of perspectives. You look for when I said that, you look at your part and what you understood and what you may not have understood. You could have been very young when this trauma happened, or this life experience happened, and you couldn't process it because you had no idea of what was actually going on. I'm referring to something that happened with me, and I didn't. Again, I cried all the time about it until it was healed. But I thought I would be feeling that the rest of my life. So I was grateful to figure out that I needed to pull it up and feel it, and then I was able to do it. Because when you do, when you meet your true self, and I'm not positive that I've exactly met the highest one, 555 as I say that, but I know that I've met a different version of me, an elevated version of me, one that's not scared, one that's not nervous about how they're going to be, how it will be perceived. I don't put myself last anymore. I put myself first, and my relationships that I am not constantly there, they've been all right. They haven't fallen apart without me. So anyway, so you understand who you really are, and you understand why you react to certain situations the way you do. There's sometimes, there was that old saying that you don't like what in others what you don't like about yourself. And that's because you see that mirror, and it's yet another thing you don't want to face. So once you look and you work past those, and you embrace who you are, and you heal the young one. In this, just a side note, in this journey, the most incredible feeling I had was to hear intuitively that the child part of me, that she felt safe finally. I don't know that she ever really felt safe, and she does. And that has enabled me to continue to do the work and improve myself and my surroundings. I mentioned relationships before. I have run into a couple of different responses to my doing this work. My relationships with my core family have improved tremendously because I'm showing up for myself. I'm not trying to, I wouldn't say live their lives, but I'm not trying to help them too much. I'm not trying to direct while avoiding my own stuff. So once you acknowledge and address those triggers and the patterns that cause conflict in your relationships, that'll improve tremendously. You know how to start. I'll just a brief overview. Journaling is a great way to pull up these emotions and deal with it. It involves so many parts of your mind and your body. You know, I would say sometimes the motion of writing will put it in your head, but in my case, I can't do a written journal. I would try when I was younger many different times, and I would just kind of, I'd get worn out, and I couldn't really concentrate on what I needed to deal with or talk about, because I was honestly conscious of future me and other people finding it, and I didn't want to write what I truly felt, because even back then I was pushing down a lot. So journaling, though, I came back into my life. Even though I'm a writer, that's like what I do. I just couldn't. But I started writing on the computer, and being able to just, because fly on the computer helped me get it all out. This is the one, yesterday's video. Excuse me, sir. Don't show your, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so not when computers came along, but when I found myself wanting to do this, it was less about journaling than sort of like, well, no, I guess, yeah, no. Sorry, journaling is kind of working through things. I wanted to have a record of what I was doing, what I was accomplishing, how I was getting through it. So that became my journal, and I finally was able to. So it served its purpose, but I didn't do it sort of the traditional way. Another great place to start. Well, first you have to commit. You have to be prepared to do this. It's not easy. It really isn't. And there are times when it's really hard, depending on your trauma and depending on what you are revisiting. So you have to really want to do this. And you should, because it gets rid of so much heartache and, all of that stuff that just swims in your head. You don't have to deal with that anymore. So it's well worth it. So notice them. Notice your triggers. Kind of stop and think, why is this affecting me? What's going on here? Why does this? So if you have a really intense emotional reaction to something, that should show you that there's something you need to look at. You need to address and sit with and finally feel. Now, I started this in therapy, and I have an amazing therapist. I started this with her, and I did one round of IFS, internal family systems, and I was able to find and relocate one of the little ones that had been holding an experience of mine that has impacted my life. So I was able to get her out of that situation, excuse me, Lucas, and into a calm, serene area. Once I did that, the floodgates opened. Excuse me, sir. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Warts and all, right? No, I'm not happy with you. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. That was that one. And I might have to Squirt him off the table. All right, there we go. So where was I? Therapy. So never had to do it again. I was able to get back into that mindset through meditation, which is another thing I highly recommend. To just to meditate, just find like YouTube tutorials or like guided meditations, or figure out what works for you, because I used to try to meditate and it never really worked for me, but now I figured out a way that I can do it, and I'll go into that another time. I feel like I was derailed by the cat. So I hope this made sense, and I hope it was helpful. So if it was, and you'd like to continue to go on this journey with me, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I will see you another time. Bye.